Nothing is going to ruin a ride more than getting a puncture and flatting out. And unless you flat right in front of a vulcanizing shop, well, you've got a couple of options. One is to phone a friend with a pickup truck to come pick you up and truck your sorry ass home, or you can deal with this simple roadside repair yourself. So today on the Man Cave, I'm going to show you guys how to plug a tubeless tire. Most modern cars and motorcycles will be rolling on a tubeless tire system, meaning there is no interior tube between the tire and the inner surface of the rim. Older cars, classic motorcycles, dirt bikes are basically wheels that have a spoke system in place, will probably be running an inner tube. But that said, there are modern spoked wheels that actually allow you to run a tubeless system. So the first thing you got to do is make sure that you're running a tubeless system before you attempt a tubeless tire repair. Now let's quickly go over what we consider repairable and non-repairable. In this area here in the middle, about 1.25 inches in from the edge of the tire, this is the crown of the tire. Any puncture that occurs in the crown area, I would consider to be repairable. Now, any punctures outside of that area, on the shoulders of the tire, on the sidewall, sorry guys, that is considered irreparable. You can't compromise on safety. If there's a puncture on the shoulder or on the sidewall, you're gonna have to pitch the tire and replace the tire. These areas here outside of the crown, they go through a lot of stress, whether it's a car tire or a motorcycle tire. And incidentally, the repair method is identical whether it's a car tire or a motorcycle tire. Any plug along the shoulder or sidewall just compromises the tire too much. This area here, it flexes a lot when the vehicle is in motion. It basically will compromise any repair that has been made. Now, most tire manufacturers will basically tell you that any tire that's been plugged or patched or repaired is a compromised tire. And that's basically them just covering their asses and making sure that they're not held liable for an improperly performed repair. That said though, there are hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of plugged tires out there that are serving their owners well. So do a little bit of research and figure out for yourself what your stand is on a repaired or a plugged tire. Personally, I view a plugged tire as a get me home in one piece type of repair. I would always take the time to actually remove the tire from the rim and get it patched from the inside, vulcanized, just for extra peace of mind. And that way I just have the extra assurance of a vulcanized patch on the inside of a tire. All right, now let's talk about what you typically find in your tire repair kit. Now you're gonna have, of course, your rope plugs. Now, for lack of a better term, this is fibrous material like rope that's been impregnated with a very sort of sticky, soft, gooey kind of rubber. At higher temperatures, this rope plug actually sort of almost melts and fuses almost to the surrounding rubber, creating a better seal. Now you've also got one of these, which is your plug insertion tool. Now, it might be shaped like this with a little bit of a gap on there, or it might be shaped more like the eye of a needle with a bit of a slit at the end. Either way, it's designed for you to be able to insert your plug into the tire and pull out the tool while leaving your plug itself deposited. Now, this is an important part of the kit. This is your tire reamer. This is basically a tool that you insert into your repair site, and it prepares the hole to the proper specifications, meaning it makes the hole just the right size for the plug. It cleans out the debris from around the hole, and also important is it prepares those little wires that you have in your tire. Yes, you've got wires inside your tire, steel wires inside there to help maintain the integrity of the tire. Now, an improperly prepared puncture site might have those little wires sticking out, which could sort of tear up your rope plugs as you insert it, compromising the seal that you have there. And also importantly is it gets the wires out of the way when you use the reamer tool. It gets those wires out of the way so that you also create a nice watertight seal. You don't want water to make ingress into that repair site and possibly rust out those little steel wires that you have there, which will compromise the tire as a whole. Learned something new. I didn't know that myself. So that's an important function of your tire reamer. Now you're also going to have a little bit of rubber cement, which you apply to the rope plug right before you insert it. And a good kit will also include something like a cutter blade, a razor blade, or you can carry along a sharp knife. Also nice to have is some kind of tire pressure measuring tool. And also important, carry around some basic tools, a screwdriver and a pair of pliers. It's actually quite difficult, dang near impossible to pull out a nail or a screw or a piece of debris. Once it's embedded into the tire, it's actually quite hard to pull that out with your bare hands. Trust me, I've tried it, it's impossible. So carry around a pair of pliers to actually easily pull out whatever it is that punctured your tire. So now that we've talked about what area is repairable and we've covered the basic tools, let's get ourselves set up to actually repair a puncture. All right, let's get to work. We've got our tire and it's got a puncture in it. Well, it doesn't have one yet. Now it does. So you flatted out, you found the area that's got a puncture on it. The first thing that you would do is pull over to a safe area on the road so that you can work on repairing this puncture. Now, if you were in a car, it might be actually easier to remove the tire from the car, get the car jacked up, take the tire out, and plug the tire. It's just a lot easier that way. But honestly, if you're going to go through that much trouble, you may as well just plop on the spare. Unless, of course, your spare has a problem, and then you're going to need to perform a plug on your car tire. So this is the same process whether it's a car tire or a motorcycle tire. For a bike, obviously, you would work on the puncture with the wheel still on the bike. So you'd start by locating where the puncture is. Now, before you get excited and remove that offending object that has punctured your tire, you want to actually prepare your repair tools. You're going to start by taking one of your rope plugs, and you would place it into your plug insertion tool. Now, you'd get this sort of halfway in through your insertion tool. This type with the gap in there makes it a little easier to place your rope plug through. Now, you feed it through there halfway through, and then you give it a liberal coating of rubber cement. Now, you would put this down in an area where it will not pick up a lot of dirt and debris. Next, you would take your reamer in hand and keep it ready. Now, you can focus your attention on whatever it is that gave you a puncture. Like I said, if you try to pull that out with your bare hands, it's pretty darn impossible. So the importance of having a screwdriver or some sort of a pair of pliers to actually sort of work that object out of the tire is important. Now, work quickly, because what you want to do is avoid losing a lot of air from the tire. So once you pull that out, you're going to start losing air from the tire. So quickly shift to your reamer tool and insert your reamer tool into the tire. Now, this is going to be a bit of a struggle. It's going to be hard. Tires are generally hard. Remember, you're trying to pierce through thick rubber and also those steel belts or those wires in there. So work the reamer through there and get that hole prepped. What you're doing is you're creating a hole that's nice and clean, clear of debris, and just the right size for your actual plug. Now, just a word, if you're shopping for a tire plug kit, generally I prefer these T-handled ones to the screwdriver types. These generally don't have as much leverage or force as these T-handled ones. These don't pack away as easily, but I feel that they just give you the right amount of leverage. So once that hole is prepped, you want to move quickly. Like I said, you don't want to lose a lot of air. Now, at this point, you would drive your insertion tool through the prepared hole, getting that plug sort of halfway through and leave a certain amount of it still sticking out. When you've got it to about this point here, with a little bit of the plug still sticking out, quickly pull out your insertion tool to leave the plug in the hole. So you've actually got the plug inserted and it remains there. All that's left to do now is actually take your razor blade or a sharp knife and trim the excess. But you actually want to trim it to where you leave a little bit of excess, maybe a little less than 1/8 of an inch. Just a little bit of the plug should remain sticking out. And at this point, you are technically done. When you move down the road, this plug will actually sort of get worked flat, and the heat of the tire will actually almost sort of melt it against the surrounding rubber. And if you've done it right, you should have a pretty solid plug that'll hold air so that you can get home. Well, that is tire plugging 101. It's actually easy in theory, but it does require a little bit of effort. So if you've got an old tire like this, I suggest that you actually practice. Try plugging it once or twice so that you know what to expect when you need to plug one for real. Now, if you lost a lot of air, obviously, while you were plugging it, before you head down the road, you need to add some air into your tires. You can do that a couple of different ways. You might want to use one of these handy CO2 canisters. They're nice and compact, easy to pack. However, it is a limited air supply. You will need to carry around a few of these canisters. Another option would be one of these new rechargeable battery-operated air compressors, which just happens to be what I'll be featuring on our next episode. So if you like what you've seen here, go ahead and click subscribe so that you don't miss our next videos. I'm Paolo Abrera. I'll see you in the next episode of the Mancave.